Growing up, I had dreams and aspirations, but always felt like the kid that didn't fit in. For the most part, I wasn't a bad kid, but when I made the transition into adulthood, I turned to the streets for guidance. This led to getting locked up in juvenile hall, doing time in CYA, and eventually a 120-month sentence in federal prison. I had a lot of time to think and reflect during my federal sentence, so I share with you what I learned, hoping I can positively influence someone else's life with Prison Talk. What's up, everybody? It's the Big Herc, fresh out life after the penitentiary. You're tuning in for another episode of Prison Talk. I want to say thank you for everybody that's been subscribing to our YouTube channel and for supporting us on Instagram and Twitter, which is FreshOutSeries, along with SoundCloud. Now, for one of our questions, we had somebody who asked me, Big Herc, why do you think so many guys return back to prison? And why do you think so many guys are unprepared when they leave prison? Well, there's a simple answer for that, but maybe it's not so simple. You know, a lot of guys waste a lot of time in prison. They waste a lot of time doing nothing. See, people think that you have time to waste when in all actuality you don't. You know, if you sit around every day and you play checkers, you play chess, you play cards, you entertain yourself with sports, you know, read a bunch of nonsense, then basically you're loading your database with a bunch of nonsense, which would be considered, I guess, junk on your computer on the street. So you're not preparing yourself because you're not doing anything which would entail your daily survival if you were on the street. You're not paying bills, all your meals are taken care of, you don't have to really worry too much about toilet paper, rent, telephone bills, car payment. So you got a lot of downtime. And you know what I used to always tell guys is, you know, if you were released right now, they just went through randomly and picked you to be released, what would you do? Would you be prepared for your release? And most guys couldn't answer that question because they wouldn't be prepared. You know, they're caught up in watching, you know, TV and these different, you know, whatever they're doing on the yard, and they haven't mentally prepared themselves for release. See, it's one thing to physically say, hey, you know, I can go out and survive. I can walk around, I'm in good shape, I'm physically able, but mentally is a totally different game. You know, mentally you have to, it's almost like reversing, I like to use the analogy of like a generator or like something that's spinning, and you're building up momentum, and if you put in like an airplane blade, if you put your finger in there, it's gonna chop it the fuck off. Now, in order to reverse that mentality that got you in prison, you gotta completely bring that airplane blade to a stop and reverse it to reverse your thought process. And so one of the things I did was I created a vision board. On my wall, I had a vision board with, you know, a nice house, money, the beach, just different things, nice cars, different places I'd like to travel to, just to get my mind in a frame that there is a life outside of prison. Because you get conditioned and think that prison is your life. And once you buy into that whole convict, inmate, prisoner mentality, you're fucked. So I never bought into that mentality. And I always read books, you know, regarding things that would enhance my ability to make the right choice. A lot of spirituality books, a lot of books on just self-help. I also read a lot of books on like business, technology, and different things like that, so that mentally I would be prepared for when I got out and I wouldn't be so out of the loop with technology. And so that makes a big difference. And like I said, you know, you don't have time to waste, even though you think you have time. You know, every minute counts, every second counts. You know, you're constantly, you know, we're a computer, we're constantly absorbing data. And, you know, if you basically program yourself to be a certain way, you're gonna react and act a certain way. So you have to reprogram yourself, which a lot of people aren't capable of doing because that requires energy and it requires change. And the thing is, you know, once you start hanging out with a certain group of people and you decide to change, they don't like that change, you know, it's gonna be a problem. So I always tell people, man, you know, keep to yourself when we get comments about surviving in prison. Don't get involved in the politics. Create your own identity, and with that, you could be successful when you get out. So yeah, recidivism it's more of a mental thing with a lot of these guys because they haven't mentally prepared themselves to be released from prison, and they don't have the mentality to support themselves when they get out. So you gotta, these guys gotta really, you gotta really change the way you look at life and how you perceive yourself while you're in prison in order to be successful out of prison. I had a question from one of our viewers, and they said, Big Herc, if you could tell your mom something or a family member something, in regards to doing time, what would you tell them? Well, I would basically say I'm sorry. I made a lot of mistakes in my life. I wasn't really a bad kid growing up. I didn't give my mom a lot of shit. I never talked back to her. I never walked out on her when she was lecturing me. I never cussed at her. I was practically, between my mom and my grandmother, who were the two biggest influences in my life, outside of my grandfather. I never really had any bad actions towards anybody in my family. I never did anything that would provoke them to be mad at me while I was free. Being locked up, I didn't get any visits from anybody during the last time I was in the feds. And that was a duration of 8 years, 8 months. And, getting out and not trying to hold on to that bitterness because nobody came to see me, which I know, if you really want to come see somebody, you can. It was hard, It was hard dealing with that emotional aspect of that. And even when I got out, I didn't see any of my family for probably a year after that because, I basically paroled to LA and my family lived on the East Coast. And, I just talked to them on the phone, wasn't nobody rushing to my aid. And so, it was a rough time, and I basically detached from a lot of my family just because it's a survival instinct. And you can't be emotional and try to survive at the same time, because then you'll get into depression. You start having all type of anxiety, and it's just hard to function. So I let it go. I detached from the people that I considered family members. But I would say, hey, I'm sorry for having taken you through all that stress and that anguish, because I know it hurt a lot of people in my family to see me go down that path and to see me doing time. And I had little brothers and sisters, and I was a role model to them, and I hurt them, because they didn't understand why I did what I did. But, I'm the type of guy, man, that, I took chances in life at the time, and I wasn't a person who did a lot of talking. I was, what I said in another video, I was a silent assassin. I just handled my business. And when it came time to making money and taking chances, I was a risk taker. And I took a lot of stupid risk, and it cost me a lot of time, And like I said, I wasn't a dumb kid. I got straight A's in school. I've been to college. I didn't finish, but school was never, really hard for me. I always was a good student, and I never really got in a lot of trouble outside when I caught my cases. So it was an embarrassment to my family. My mom was very hurt. My little sister, I missed her graduation from college. I missed her wedding. I just missed a lot of significant dates, things that you want to be there for. So I would just apologize to all of them for having hurt them. I just never really wanted to hurt my family like that. And, a lot of times when you're doing shit, you don't really think about the people that are affected, but you affect a lot of people, man. You hurt a lot of people indirectly that look up to you, whether it be, a little brother or sister, or a child you're raising who doesn't have that role model, or, people that you think that aren't aware that you have an impact on. And, I know I hurt a lot of people, man, and it took a long time for me to get that trust back and for them to start believing in me again, because they didn't know how I was going to come out of prison. A lot of people thought I was going to come out in just a fucked up state of mind. They didn't know if I was just institutionalized, if I didn't give a fuck, if I was just on some fuck you time, you know what I mean? And I just, I had to really control that anger and that bitterness, man. And I went into prison at 25, got out when I was 34, and that's a big gap of time. And I had to just really bite the bullet, man, and realize that I'm the one who fucked up. It wasn't their fault. They didn't go do the time. I'm the one who did the time. So I had to just man up, and it's a fucked up situation all the way around the board, doing the time, but also, like I said, affecting the family members, man. And I just apologize to all the family members that I hurt along the way, and people that looked up to me that I let down. But I hope by bringing you guys a series, I can correct a lot of that and put together some, put more positive energy out there, so that a lot of you youngsters out there who were out there on the verge of doing some fucked up shit can realize it's not worth it, man. You know what I'm saying? Do something different. There's a lot of other hustles out there now, so you ain't gotta compromise yourself like that, because like I said, you do affect a lot of people, and I'm just saying I'm sorry.